Thank you. It's Samantha Fish, ladies and gentlemen. Yay! Ow!
It's Wednesday evening. You're listening to Mystic Moon Cafe with Wendy Schindler and Travis Short. Every week, we will interview guests that are experts in various fields of the supernatural, paranormal, unexplained, and esoteric. So sit back and let us take you on a journey to educate, enlighten, and entertain as we broaden your horizons. Now, here's your hosts, Wendy Schindler and Travis Short. You're listening to Mystic Moon Cafe. The views and opinions expressed by guests do not necessarily reflect those of the hosts, the network, or our sponsors.
And bloop. All right, and that was, you got to listen to Samantha Fish with I Put a Spell on You, from when she traveled around with the Blue Healers and when I saw her down at Knucklehead's Saloon. Anyway, we've been introduced, we've been disclaimed. I've got our guests on the line and Travis as well, so let's just jump on in, shall we?
Sounds like fun. Hey, Wendy.
Hey, Travis, how you doing?
Yeah, no, I'm not too bad. I'm not going to bitch and whine and complain tonight.
Why would tonight be any different than usual?
Well, I'm trying to, I'm following up the positive energy of the full moon, super moon, blood moon, blue moon, blue moon of Kentucky, and just keep it positive.
That's the best way to be, because,
Damn it, I don't like it.
I've stopped cursing the skank, wishing for her death. I've decided to just wish her every opportunity to get the hell out.
Oh.
That's positive, right?
It is.
Mm-hmm. I thought so.
Oh my God. I love cursing the skank. That should either be...
That should be a song.
A song, June, or the title of a title of an alternative rock band, or possibly even the next in one of Shane Silver's books series.
Ooh, yeah.
The Cursing of the Skank.
He did give a nod to the Mafia, in his last book.
He did, and I think we try to give as many nods to him as we possibly can.
Absolutely.
We nodding off, nodding up, and just we do our best. We like Shane. We need to have Shane back on.
He is so busy, but we can always just put the offer out there.
Well, I think he's one of those we should say, hey, when you get a free night, we'll just do a show.
Right. Sounds like a plan.
I know, I think so. And speaking of shows, next week Bill Bean comes back on. Mm-hmm. And God only knows what we'll be talking about.
I was going to ask you, but I was almost afraid.
No, Bill's releasing a new book. He hasn't publicly announced it yet. He did send it to me. I did some minor edits on it, and he had me write the foreword for this one. So that I'm sure he will. I'm not gonna steal his thunder, but I'll let him talk about the book. I know he wants to do that, but it's actually, this will be the fourth book that Bill has written, and I think it does an excellent job of kind of tying his previous three together, and providing some more insight into his story. He deals with some things about his own traumatic childhood that he didn't really go into in Dark Force and delivered. So there's a lot of interesting kernels of new information that's really good. So,
very good.
And then of course, for our listeners, we of course have moved or transitioning from Wednesday nights to Thursday nights.
Right.
And there's a reason for that. There is method to our madness, or madness to our method. I'm not exactly sure when.
Are we announcing yet, or are we just going to wait until we're a little closer to?
I think we should wait till we're a little bit closer, but we do have some big news for our listeners. Mm-hmm. All three of you, we have big news. And we just can't wait till the newsletter goes out, so we'll make the announcement here. But
exactly, yeah.
But we are transitioning to Thursdays for a very specific reason. So next week, Bill will be on the 8th, The following week, I don't think we have anybody booked yet for the 15th. But on the 22nd, Nick Redfern comes back on. He's coming back on to talk his new book, The Slender Man, which is extremely timely and for many reasons, but especially since one of the girls involved in the Slender Man stabbings from a few years ago was actually sentenced today.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, she was. She received the maximum sentence, 40 years in a mental institute.
For real?
For real.
Oh, wow.
40 years in a mental institute. Mm-hmm. And she's like early to mid-teens. So, I mean, she'll be coming out, in her 50s, maybe 60s.
Mm-hmm. I hope that's long enough.
For what?
Just set her straight.
There's no setting some people straight. This is just basically a very long timeout. Is basically what this is. But so that's what we've got lined up, and then some major news that we'll be announcing in the coming weeks.
Yes, absolutely.
So we've got two of our favorite guests on the show tonight.
That we do indeed. Go ahead, Travis. Why don't you introduce this time?
Oh no, these are your peeps. You get to introduce them.
You begged me to bring them on. I managed that.
It's true, I did. Go for it. Introduce them.
Bravo. This evening we have the fabulous June Antoinette Nixon and the not even comparable to anybody fantastic Ross Allison. They run Spooked in Seattle, a Ghost, which is Advanced Ghost Hunters of Seattle-Tacoma, and Somebody Let the Dogs Out. I do apologize.
That damn skank. Curse her.
Nah, she wasn't home. She might be now.
Who let the dogs out? The bitch let the dogs out. That's who did.
Well, while the dogs are singing, I can say that thank you for having us on, but I wanted to say that Ross actually Spooked in Seattle. I just kind of help out when I can.
Oh, okay. Ross, is that true, or is she just being demure?
No, it's true.
Oh, it's true. We try to get rid of her, but she keeps hanging on.
I understand.
That doesn't bode well for if she ever passes. She's just going to be, latch on as a spirit.
That is true.
All the better for us, I guess, huh?
Although that would give a whole new slant on the spirit guide kind of thing. So
yep, there you go.
but she would be too busy haunting brothels because that's what June does.
Exactly. I have to go I'll still be investigating when I'm gone because I probably won't know I'm gone.
It all happens so fast. June's like, what? No. That can't be.
So many places and so little time.
This is true.
Especially this year for us.
Yeah, you guys, every time I, log on to Facebook, you're like somewhere new and exciting and better than where I am. So I find myself really damn jealous.
Well, come with us sometime.
I would love to. I don't ever go anywhere. I mean, for me, it's an excursion if I make it to Super Walmart.
Oh, that sounds like an adventure to be had.
Adventures in shopping.
Oh, my God.
Exactly.
Yep. Go to Costco,
I don't know.
have the gunman.
I was going to say, some Walmarts are pretty scary, so,
Yeah, I'm telling you. I have seen some things. I will not even tell you. No, I'm not even. No.
Well, you're in West Virginia too, so I'm sure.
I am not in West Virginia. Jeez.
Yes, he is. He's on Walton's Mountain. He just won't admit it.
No, he's not. He is in. I am in Virginia.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know there was a difference.
There is a difference. I mean,
I'm so sorry.
There is. But every state has that state they pick on. Virginia's got a couple. We pick on West Virginia. We pick on Kentucky. We pick on Tennessee. We kind of, throw our finger up at all of them and don't want to be part of them. Although the part of Virginia that I'm in actually was supposed to have been a totally different state.
Really?
this part of Virginia, the state of West Virginia, eastern Kentucky, and northeast Tennessee were supposed to be the state of Franklin.
Interesting.
And actually, in this area, there are streets that are state of Franklin. There are banks that are state of Franklin banks, and just it still bears that connotation in a lot of areas in a lot of ways. But geographically, culturally, demographically, this part of those states is more similar than dissimilar. So.
Interesting. I never knew that. We have our history lesson too.
There you go. History's mystery. There's a reason that was a mystery. Nobody gives a damn. So.
Oh no, that's I never knew that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is one of those little known facts. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, interesting stuff. My favorite Walmart story, actually, and it was right before Christmas, 2007. I walked into the men's room early one morning on my way to work. I was the director of marketing and PR for a hospital at the time. I walked into the men's room because I was there to finish up some Christmas shopping, and I walked into a mentally challenged, fully naked midget.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. I can't make this stuff up.
Well, you could, but we probably.
But why would you? Why would I?
I don't know, but yeah.
Yeah, it was. I'm still traumatized.
Oh my!
I really am. I know.
Well,
but enough of the highbrow, sophisticated conversations. Let's actually talk about some good. I mean, seriously, you guys have been a lot of cool places lately. Where do you want to start with what's going on?
God, where should we start, June? Should we start about our more recent trip?
We can definitely do that. That was pretty amazing.
So, I should say, technically last year, we went on a European haunted castle trip. It's something that I've always wanted to do. It's been on my bucket list to investigate haunted castles. So we set out for London, and our first stop was actually in the city of London. We actually went to Highgate Cemetery. This is something that June wanted to do because the time before that, when we went to London, we only did the east side. We didn't get a chance to do the west side because the tickets were sold out because it's only by tour. And so June actually got to see the west side of the cemetery. So why don't you start with that, June?
Yeah, it was so awesome. You can only see it by tour now. They won't let you just wander around in there because I guess the graves are so old. Mm-hmm. Which was kind of disappointing because there was so much of that side that we didn't get to see, and also too, it was really hard to take pictures because she wanted you to keep up with the group. You wanted to stay there and just keep photographing, all of these incredible monuments all over the place there. So it was a little frustrating because it was just if you all would try to keep up. It was just
and there went your tip.
Yeah.
So,
I was probably the worst because I'm one of those people that likes the leg way behind so I can get some pictures without people in them.
Right.
Yeah. She was getting mad at you. I think you got didn't you?
But I'm not perfectly innocent either because June, we went into this little crypt area. And before we go in there, she says, no photography is allowed. So what does June do? She pretends like she's not taking pictures, but she's taking pictures.
Oh, sly dog,
I did
you.
get a good one, though. I had my camera down. I mean, it wasn't a camera. Well, it was my 3D camera. Not my 3D, but my 360 camera. And I was just clicking. Most of sadly, my butt. Didn't really get that many really good pictures, so I was like,
oh, dang it.
What do you mean? You got some really good pictures in there, mister.
Shut up, June.
Yeah, yours came out pretty good.
I got 2 good pictures inside there. It
Yeah,
was really cool because in this crypt area, you could see a lot of the crypts that had been desecrated. They're starting to rot and they're starting to fall apart and open up. So you can actually see like inside some of these coffins the remains. And again, it's historic. We're talking probably late 1700s, early 1800s. And it was just beautiful inside there, a little bit of light coming through. So it definitely was one of those places that, you get some amazing photos out of, but she definitely didn't want you to take pictures.
I don't know why they didn't. I mean, I can understand with the flash and things like that, but if you have night vision or something like this, I don't understand why they want, to take those. I know they want you to buy the book, to buy all the book with all the pictures in it, but I don't understand why we couldn't take pictures there. So anyway, the ones I tried, it didn't come out well.
But it was a really great place. Again, you can only see the west side just by doing the tour. And that's been my second time there. So, of course, you get the opportunity to take pictures of the things that you missed last time. But again, it's so huge over there. There's so much that you miss.
Yeah. It's incredible.
But after that, we took the train up to Scotland.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, Chillingham wasn't in Scotland yet.
Oh, that's right. I
Yeah.
forgot one. So, okay, sorry. So, so we took the train to, what is the name of that town? It's not Chillingham, but it's where Chillingham Castle is. And Chillingham is probably the most notorious haunted castle in the UK area.
Yeah, the whole world.
Yeah, okay. And so, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and why so or how so?
Oh,
Maybe
we'll tell you.
history. Okay. Oh, thank you. Okay.
Oh, well, fine. I forgot. We don't actually have to ask you guys questions. We just set the stage and let you roll with it. Right, I forgot. Okay.
So, the interesting thing was it was an adventure just to get there.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because unfortunately, we're traveling in the off season, which is better because less people at these places, but a lot of the ways to get there are not so available. So we had to take a train to this small village, and then from there we had to. We were supposed to take a bus, but the bus at this time comes every hour. And so when we got there, we thought we had made it on time, but unfortunately they hadn't updated the schedule.
Yeah.
So it was going to be another couple hours, apparently.
4 hours.
Oh, 4 hours. Yeah, we had to wait 4 hours. That's right. It was every 4 hours that this bus went out there.
Wow.
And we had just missed it.
Yeah.
So
of course.
June says, we're just going to take a cab out there. So she gets a hold of a cab.
We're going to take a freaking cab.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
But what was so funny was after the cab driver comes and gets us, he says, this doesn't even show up on my GPS. But he goes, but I know the general area. So we were like, okay, how much is this going to cost us? I know the general area. But
and literally, it's in the middle of nowhere. You're driving through fields and forest.
Yeah. We're getting a little nervous, going, "Oh, great!"
I've seen movies
and
that
June was,
started like
and the
this.
funny thing is June was actually thinking about walking it. She's like, we can walk it.
No, that's when we get to the town that's the closest town to there.
Oh, that's right.
That's like the closest town was like 6 miles. So, but then I was like, screw that, because we had suitcases too. So it's like, yeah, that's not a good idea. Especially with me, when I start getting irritated and I'm carrying things, and I get, mad, then Ross pays for it by me, yelling at him and
throwing luggage at him. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yes.
So now, a totally random question. This happens, I know, in cities in the U.S. I lived in D.C. for 6 months, and I would take a cab for a lot of the places I went, and I got so pissed off when I was having to use, MapQuest or something to give them directions on how to get me there. And
almost all
it's
of them had GPS and
Right.
you can see. So yeah.
But now the castle that you're going to, is it not what you would consider a mainstream tourist attraction? Is that why that he wasn't familiar with it, or was he just kind of not?
It's not a mainstream
Okay.
tourist attraction, but it is in the paranormal communities. It's a major place, basically, because it's been on a lot of the shows. How many? It's probably been on just about all the shows, you know,
Yeah.
from most terrifying places on Earth and scariest places on Earth and a few others. So it's been on all the shows.
So
Okay.
so it was a great, little adventure to get there because the cab driver, he actually drops us off at the gate. He doesn't even take us in. So we had to lug our baggage up this long dirt road to get to the castle.
Yeah.
So the castle itself is amazing, lots of history there. There's been a lot of murder, torture that happened there.
If you're familiar with Braveheart, the man that tortured Braveheart, Longshanks, supposedly had he did historically, I guess, managed the castle for a while or was at the castle for a while, so there was a lot of horrible things that went on at the time.
Now, again, we're getting there in the off season, so a lot of the castle, unfortunately, was closed off for regular adventures into. The only way you could see the big portion of the castle was to take the tour. So we ended up taking that tour that night, and that's when we heard a lot of these interesting stories of the ghosts that haunt the place. My favorite is they talked about the tree line that went along the main entrance to the castle was used to hang a lot of the people. So the outside has a lot of gruesome history as well, and I don't know if I should talk about that now or talk about it when we investigated the outside.
Oh, well, you can just say, first it was all the woods, and then the drive-in, they used to hang people from all the trees, let's just say.
All right. So, June, do you remember a lot of the stories from inside the castle?
Let me think. You probably remember
the dungeon part we investigated.
Amazing.
There was stories that they kept the dogs down in this pit where they didn't feed the dogs, and so, of course, they would throw people down into the pits, and the dogs would eat them alive.
Ugh. Yeah, it was horrible. They had an oubliette there, too, that is where they throw the people in and forget them. And it's long.
Were they submerged, or was it just a really deep pit with...
It was a really deep pit. How far down was this? 20, 30 feet?
Yeah, I would think so.
Down, and no food, nothing. They would just throw them down there, and along with everybody. I just can't even imagine what a horrible to die that would be.
The interesting thing is anything that you could claim of any torture, murder, any hardships that you could claim to had any history, they claimed they had it there.
Right.
Some form of it happened there. So, I'm trying to think. There was the torture chamber area. Was pretty interesting. They had all these vintage devices that, of course, people were tortured with, from the Iron Maiden to the stretcher.
The chair with nails on it, and the bed with nails on it. It's just like,
June loved those. She was trying those on. Like, yeah, that's great.
Good night, woohoo! Oh my God, it was. Yeah, just to hear everything. And of course, the guide was telling us a lot of the stuff in detail, what happened, these torture things. And it's just like, great.
Vincent found that amusing.
Apparently.
Timing is everything, right?
Well, I think the worst torture was the going up the was it the 350,000 steps that went up to the tower to the top?
Wow.
That was horrible torture.
That's a bunch of steps now.
Stairway to Heaven? Not.
But it was awesome, though. It really was. Yeah.
So, towards the end of the tour, this tour's at night, so we're kind of going through the castle in the dark. And I have to admit, I didn't hear a lot of the stories during the tour because I, again, am lagging behind because I'm trying to get the best pictures, of all these great places that weren't open to the public. So I'm trying to get all these good pictures. So that's why I turned to June for some of these stories. But I do remember at the end, as we were all gathered, he dared us to investigate the outside. Because in most cases, most people can't be outside the castle after midnight.
And we're like, challenge accepted.
Yes, we're like, yeah, we're on that.
Exactly. Like, yes.
So to go into some of the stories that they talked about outside was, again, the tree line was used to hang a lot of these people. And a lot of these people weren't dead. They would be hanging there, slowly dying. They would hang you from your legs. They'd hang you from your abdomen. They'd hang you from your arms, and you would just hang there, starving to death. Oh. And of course, they talked about how the children would come up and torture them, or the children would come up and steal their clothes because they didn't have much clothing. So, of course, now these people are hanging there completely naked because all their clothes have been stolen as well. But then sometimes the monks would come along and they would free them. And so, this ticked off, the people running the castle. So what they did is that's how they developed these cages now that they would hang the people from, so that they could not be freed. And so, of course, all these cages hung along that tree line as well. But they talked about, the trees inside the forest were used. There was a hanging tree inside the forest that was used quite a bit. They said one time, yeah. They said that one tree during a storm came down, and when it came down, its roots uprooted a lot of the remains of people that had been hung from the tree, because in most cases when somebody, finally decays and falls off the tree, they would just bury it right there at the foot of the tree.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what kind of crimes would warrant this type of torture and death?
Everything.
Oh, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything.
It seems like for bread to
exactly.
It seems like they were very cruel. There was no mercy, as they would claim that the people running the castle had no mercy. So you would be severely punished for the slightest thing that you would do. So there's a talk about a ghost woman that wanders the forest as well.
Women. So you hear laughter of children, laughter of women, laughter of, just there are people talking, men's voices talking, shadows all over the place. People would see shadows dart in and out and all hear voices and laughter and all sorts of things. So that was like some of the stories of just about everything you can imagine. Seeing apparitions, women in flowing gowns. What was it? Wasn't there a gray lady there too, or was it? I don't think there was a woman in white at that place. There's usually a woman in white everywhere, but I think that place, the lady in gray was there too. Or was it purple? There's some people. I can't remember.
So this place, it's after midnight. We decided to go out with our equipment. Now, I should point out that outside, it is darker than dark. Literally, if you had no source of light, you probably couldn't see the hand in front of your face.
We couldn't. We even turned the flashlight off. The stars were incredible. There was no moon. There was nothing. It was completely black. It was wild. I've never been in that much darkness outside.
Yeah, because you have to imagine, again, we're in the middle of nowhere. So, Yeah, so we go out. It's myself, June, our friends from Scotland, and our friend John is joining us on this trip. And we're kind of wandering around, and we're going through this area that he walked us through on the tour. We're going to all these trees where previous ghost hunters claim that they've captured EVPs and they've seen apparitions and shadowy figures. So we're doing this whole, going through the whole routes. And we get about halfway through the forest area when all of a sudden we hear women laughing and giggling.
That's never a good sign. I'm just going to point that out.
Exactly.
I mean, it's just never a good sign. See?
So,
you see how creepy it is when Wendy does it?
Yeah. So we're thinking, great, some other people have decided to come out and venture out into the darkness as well and investigate. So we were kind of, bummed out because, we were hoping to have this whole area to ourselves. And of course, if you hear these people laughing and giggling, this is not going to be a controlled environment. It's going to screw up all of our recordings. So we step out, and there's this little opening where you can step out from the trees and bushes, and you can look up to the castle, and you can still see a couple of lights in the castle lit up. But again, totally dark. And we're standing there, and the laughing has stopped. And we realize, well, wait a minute, these ladies would not be able to wander out in the darkness without any, flashlights or anything. And there were no flashlights or anything out there.
Oh,
and so,
Like coming
yes.
into the woods. Yeah.
So, yeah, it was just like, it was there for a few minutes, this laughing, and we thought, here they come. And then it just stopped.
Yeah. Nothing at all. And, if these are young women and they're laughing, they're not going to just stop laughing. And it was nothing. It was really interesting. So, I don't know. That just, there was no lights, there was nothing else, and nothing else. It was like, they didn't go in the castle. They were, it was just like, okay, where did these women go? And it sounded like maybe 2 or 3. Maybe?
I would say, 3 or 4 maybe at least.
And then
so,
nothing.
Yeah. And then it was just gone. So that was interesting. After we went through the forest, we had a couple weird sounds and stuff.
Well, also,
and of course,
lights.
What's that?
You saw these weird lights on your
on the thermal camera. Yeah, I kept seeing these bright colored lights moving around with the thermal camera. And again, we're out in the cold, and it's cold out there, so everything should be, dark blues and black.
Mm-hmm.
And yet there were these orange and yellow lights that would just appear out of nowhere and then just disappear.
Which we thought were like little animals or something, but then it was like in the air, not just on the ground, but it was just like they were forming in the air, and then there'd be one, and then all of a sudden this one little sphere would divide off into 2 spheres. And it was
pixies.
Just like, yeah, it's like, yeah, exactly. Are we seeing something really what are we seeing here?
Right.
And that was one of the weirdest things, where we saw like one sphere, branch off into 2 spheres, because it was like that. If it was an animal, it wouldn't all of a sudden be like some little, warm-blooded squirrel or something, and then branch off into 2 squirrels, because that would have been pretty freaky, or like thing, But never mind.
Exactly. Yeah.
Where it's just branching off. So that was pretty weird.
Trying to think if there was anything else that was interesting in the forest besides June's poor videotaping.
I could not see the ground, and so I had to see the ground through the video. I can't help it was all groundwork.
Was it a little Blair Witch Project-y?
Pretty much, just mostly of the ground. and her feet.
To see through the video camera, and it's like there were like big sticks everywhere and rocks and everything, and Ross wasn't holding.
Dude, you know what? You do see big sticks and rocks in forests. Oh my god!
I know, that's why I don't like them.
Oh my gosh.
This is why I had to hold my night vision camera to the ground so I could see these things, since you didn't have the flashlight on me so much.
Mm-hmm. Excuses.
So, yeah. Well, next time I was more mindful of my video making, because it was all of the ground. There could have been an apparition standing next to me, but I was looking at the ground.
Yep, that woman in white that the website is telling me about. Yeah, it was probably her. She was.
Was it a woman? I was thinking it was a grown woman.
Yeah, she's probably just looking over June's shoulder, going, "What the hell are you looking at, woman?
What is wrong with you?" Yeah.
I'm just not a fan of the woods anyway. I'm not one of these people, especially going out at night, and not because of ghosts or anything like that, but because of any kind of wild animals.
The ferocious nocturnal raccoons.
Yeah, exactly. I don't like any of them. Because we heard rustling every once in a while. There were probably pests, things like that, but it was a little unnerving.
Well, the nice thing about having the thermal camera, you'd be able to see a big animal coming at you,
That is a nice thing. So you can see it coming at you before it tears you in pieces.
Gores you with its horns.
Yes. The big deer or antelope, whatever they are out there.
So,
I think
moving
they're
on.
even bigger than regular deer over here, but I'm not positive on that. Unless it's the theoretical god Hearn who has that rack.
You never know.
You never can tell at all. You were in the land of the Fae.
Yes, it was really cool because some of those trees in that forest are incredible. And then you think about, people hanging off these trees, and you're walking there at 1 o'clock, 1:30 in the morning. It's a little unnerving because it's just like, oh, wow. And then you saw the tree that had been uprooted and fallen over, and it was like, ooh. So, yeah, it was cool.
So we're slowly making our way through the forest. And we finally get back to the castle, and we decide, take advantage of investigating certain areas that were open to the public. And one of the areas that we had access to was one of the dungeons.
Oh, that was cool.
So we got to investigate that little area. Now, I will point out that outside that dungeon area, there's this room, a little trophy room, as I'll say. And so there's all kinds of interesting, antiques in the room. From bear skins and tiger heads and all kinds of other critters. And one of the things that I noticed as I was filming was this door, and it was slightly moving. So I decided, okay, well, there is a spirit here, and it might be moving the door. Let's try and take advantage of that. So I had asked. After watching this door for quite some time, a good probably 10 minutes, I finally asked, if that's you, could you open the door wider? And right when I said that, all of a sudden the door opened, or wide open, and then shut.
Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, that was really good. Really.
But it was a great place. I would love to go back.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think, was there anything else at Chillingham Castle before we move on to the next castle?
I can't remember of anything else. Was there something that happened to me upstairs that I thought happened? But maybe not. But I was all by myself upstairs on the fold-out couch. We had a whole wing that we had rented for the night. And so I was upstairs, and then the rest of you were downstairs, but I can't remember if anybody I can't remember. It's pretty cool.
So Chillingham Castle, unfortunately, we only stayed for one day.
Yeah, I could definitely stay there a week.
Yeah, I could definitely go back for some more time there.
was a little pricey, but it was really nice.
So we finished up at Chillingham. We got in the car, so since we were with our friends from Scotland. They drove down, and so we drove back up with them, and they were great, and they set us up at a castle for 3 days to ourselves.
Yes.
And this was Roslin Castle, right next to the famous Roslin Chapel.
Right.
That was incredible. Absolutely incredible. Yeah, we had 4 days, 3 nights, and 4 days there.
That is an amazing experience that they gave us. Now, most of the castle had been destroyed throughout the years. So there's a small kind of a cottage setting, I would say, where we had access to the main floor and then the upstairs. And so it's beautiful. You know, it's still decorated in the family's history.
All their,
you know, you can.
I mean, incredible. Their paintings went to the early 1700s, late 1600s. It was like their family history paintings all over the walls. It was incredible. Huge fireplace, about the size of a car.
Wow.
Yeah, it was great. And we had to have the fireplace, too, because it was cold in there.
It was cold, definitely. When they talk about castles getting cold in the winter, they're not kidding. It was definitely very cold, but, you know, definitely worth it. You know, it's just especially, you know, just absorbing the atmosphere, let alone it's haunted. You know, just put that aside and just having the experience of staying in a historic castle, that all this history, you know, within these walls, and just sitting there in the middle of the night with a fire going in the fireplace, you know, and just chit-chatting amongst each other. It was just an amazing experience.
I'll never forget that as long as I live. That was just Mark and Eileen. I mean, they just outdid themselves for us. It was incredible. Ugh. I really want to do that again someday.
I'd definitely do that again. That was a great experience. But what's really cool about this castle is, we had the livable portion was, of course, the main floor and the upstairs. So you've got this big, giant living room space. You got a nice little dining room space, tiny, tiny kitchen.
Yeah.
But then upstairs there was 4 bedrooms upstairs. And 2 bathrooms. And they had recently remodeled it, so it was actually kind of nice upstairs. But below it, though, is 3 levels of what they say are dungeons.
Used to be old cells and dungeons and torture areas, and
So directly underneath us, was 3 layers of a dungeon. So So we had 3 nights of some lots of excitement, lots of ghost hunting. Now I have to admit, the first night, I think me and June just decided we just wanted to relax and take in the atmosphere, because we had already been on the go since we got into London. Well, her a little bit more because she went into Iceland too, so she's been on the go for quite a 3 or 4 days. Mm-hmm. So we decided, let's just take it easy, we'll explore a little bit, but, we got 3 nights, let's just absorb the area. And so the first night, we didn't really, do any hardcore ghost hunting, but we, did a little bit, So me and June decided, we'll at least go down and film a little bit of this dungeon area. Now, the first layer, of course, there's a little bit of light, so they do have a light going to the first layer, and there's this big portion, and then there's a little hallway where all these cells are. So we're going around, doing some filming, so a little bit of EVP. Then we go down to the next layer, same thing, and then of course the third layer we go down, and we did that for the first night, and then we went back and warmed up by the fire. And I'm trying to think if there was any strange encounters within the first night. And I'm thinking, besides the flushing toilet, there's a toilet on the first floor that kept flushing by itself.
Yeah, that was very strange. Very, very strange. And it was so cold. Oh, my God. You had to go to the bathroom. It was just like, oh, my God.
But that is considerate of the ghosts to flush after they use the toilet.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. They use chamber pots, more than likely.
Yeah, probably.
So I'm trying to think. The second night, we did some more investigating. Second night, we actually... Was it the second night that we had you sing, June?
I think so. I sang... what did I sing? The...
Danny Boy. We took her down into the dungeon area, and we thought it might be more of a trigger to maybe sing some old Scottish songs.
Mm-hmm.
And so, she sang Danny Boy. What was the other one that you sang?
Green Sleeves.
And some people claim that they had some experiences while that was happening, while she was singing. One guy freaked out and almost ran out of there because he claimed that he was leaning up against a doorway up into one of the cells, and I think he claimed that something grabbed him.
Yeah,
wow.
I can't remember the story that, somebody probably says, make her stop!
Right.
Yeah, I think something like that. Anyway, it scared him pretty bad. And, I can't remember too much of that story. I need to go through I don't think I finished going through the audio on those.
Yeah, I got to go through. I did a lot of 360 video as well, so I got to go through a lot of that. And
just to make ourselves do that, because I bet we've got some cool stuff, and we just haven't even gone through it all yet.
Right. So then one night we spent investigating upstairs. The upstairs there's lots of claims of children haunting the room. In fact, didn't you have an experience in your room, June?
Let me think. I can't remember. What was it? Because the guy was there, and then didn't we have some K2?
We had some interesting K2 things happen upstairs. That's for sure. And a couple of the people that joined us that night had some experiences with the children.
Yeah.
We tried to play a game with the children to get them to be more interactive with us. So we did that. I think more of my experiences or personal feelings were when on the last night, just to try and get as much as I could, I ventured down into the dungeon areas by myself.
Right.
Oh, my.
And, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that was definitely pretty creepy, walking around, filming things in the dark. In the 3D, I was doing the 3D 360 camera. And there was definitely a lot of times when you'd hear something almost like a shuffle at the end of the hall. And this is nothing but dirt, hallways.
Didn't we? That was something that we had too. When it was just you and I, or when somebody else was with us, that we heard footsteps, and nobody. It was
just you and I.
Yeah, nobody else was walking. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, because our first night, it was just me and you wandering around by ourselves down there. And that's when we heard, somebody walking as well. So, and I heard it by myself when I was down there by myself. You'd hear somebody walking, just a lot of weird noises down there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it wasn't just the, drips and things like that. That was, the sounds of
noises, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's, yeah, it really sounded like somebody, because we thought maybe it might be critters, down there, but the thermal imaging camera didn't pick up any critters.
Well, that's kind of good and bad, right?
Now, but I was going to ask you a question. I mean, when you're investigating a place like a castle, because Ross, you and June both alluded to it, the structural differences between investigating a more modern building, that has to come into play, especially when you're talking about recording sound, videography, film, pictures, and things like that.
Right, and there is a big difference when you're investigating something like that, because again, sound carries because you're dealing with much bigger environments. It's almost like being in a cave, you know, if you think about that, because these are big stone structures. And of course, the biggest problem that we have when investigating these places is you're also limited on outlets.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you're trying, to use a lot of your fancy equipment, you're pretty limited on what you can plug in. So, going down into these, dungeon areas, there's no electricity whatsoever. So you're dealing with only the equipment that, relies on batteries. So you have to put that into check as well. And then, of course, you also have to, if you're going to go into these historic places, be aware of their history. Try to learn as much as you can, because you might want to use some of that history as a trigger for your investigation. If you're dealing with children. Now, granted, the family has lived there, for quite some time before they opened it up to the public. So when you're dealing with, children, you think, okay, why would children be in this, part of the castle? So maybe it ties into the family. So maybe you don't have to go back, to, the 16th or 17th century or the 18th century. This could be, something a little more, later in the years. So you don't have to, rely on maybe traditions of old toys. Maybe just a simple ball might help you. Trying to get them to, interact with a ball. So, being aware of its history could help as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it looked like that one might have been built on an even older castle, but that it was dated back to the 1400s or 14th century. Excuse me.
Was what did the what did it say over the door? Was it 1620?
I don't remember offhand. Sorry.
Over the door when we go into the castle, there's a date of the castle on there. And then they
that one where I couldn't tell if it was supposed to be like a Bible entry or the. I remember it does have a number 16 something or other, right?
I think it's like 1621 or something like that.
I'm going to test you on that, June. I'm going to go look.
There will be a test later.
1629, 1621, something like that.
How about 22? 1622.
Ask her what Spectre stands for.
My God. I just never think about that. I don't know why. I do not know why. And every time you ask me, I'm caught off guard, even after I try to memorize it. We have the Spectre system in our group that is amazing, because you set it up and you leave it alone for a couple hours and come back, and it monitors every aspect of the room, from EMF, temperature, everything you can think of, motion, sonic sound, everything. And so it's pretty amazing.
So Spectre is an acronym for Special Paranormal Computer Tracking Research Equipment.
See, if I just remember special, but for some reason my brain keeps thinking something else.
Well, see, and I was thinking you were talking about the villainous organization that James Bond constantly.
Yes, exactly.
That's the one that popped into my
Spectre
head.
and
Yeah.
Smirch. It's like, okay.
007.
Yes.
So Roslyn was great, and again, Roslyn Castle is actually right next to the Roslyn Chapel, which is famous for, if you watched Da Vinci Code, the first one.
Yes.
In the very last part of the movie, when they go to the chapel, that's Roslyn Chapel.
Okay.
So got to go there, and then plus there's a cemetery right next door. Oh my God!
Yeah, it was so cool. Yeah, we forgot to talk about the cemetery too that was next to Chillingham Castle too. That had the crypt in it.
Oh,
too.
that's right.
That was pretty amazing too. But anyway, don't digress.
I know. I'm trying to. There's so much to talk about. So we've only gotten to Roslyn Castle.
Yeah.
Now, I did just repost that picture of that doorway, and it does say 1625. I don't know what
21
language that is under it, but hey.
Yeah. And there's this beautiful courtyard right next to it that's private. You can only get to it, when you're inside. When you're inside the castle and walk out to the courtyard, you can only see it from, you have to be inside the castle. You can't get to it from the outside. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, it had this beautiful little courtyard, which actually used to be the main hall of the castle. But since the ceiling had, had fallen in and gone to ruin, mm-hmm. they just kind of made it to a courtyard. But it's so cool because it has the huge fireplace, in the wall there, and everything. But it was really, really beautiful.
So I was going to say, after Roslyn, where did we go after Roslyn, June?
Let's see.
We stayed. Where did we stay after? We had one free day in.
We went to the one that we had to catch the ferry. We stayed in that white. What's it called? White something. White Chapel. No, white.
White Horse Inn. Yeah.
Or maybe it was gray or purple.
I was trying to think. Didn't we stay in another? No, I guess not. So we
stayed in that place that was over the old bar.
That's right. So that's right. We went across over to the water side so that we could catch the ferry early the next morning over to Ballygolly. That's right.
Mm-hmm. Ballygolly Castle.
So
I still love that name. I don't know why.
I know, me too.
Because it sounds made up.
Yes, exactly.
Ballygolly.
What? I don't know what that was. What kind of accent that was, but
it's like when Frank Sinatra is singing, "Oh by gosh, by golly," it's like Bali.
It's like Ballygolly.
What? What's Ballygolly? Shouldn't that be an Indian castle and not a Scottish castle?
Like in Bollywood.
Exactly.
Yes. That was pretty beautiful.
So we take a ferry over to Northern Ireland, and we stayed 2 nights at Ballygolly Castle.
I can't even hear you say it without laughing. I'm sorry, I just can't. It just cracks me up.
Yes.
And it was really cool because I remember when we called about Ballygolly, we wanted to see if we could stay in the haunted room. And they were like, no. The room, they said no, it wasn't available. And we thought, okay, somebody already beat us to the haunted room. Mm-hmm. Well, when we get there, come to find out the haunted room is a room you can't actually rent. It's actually a tower room. It's a tiny little room in this tower that they believe is the most haunted room of the castle. And there's a couple interesting stories to it, but one of the main stories is they believe that the husband wanted his wife to give birth to a son, but unfortunately she gave birth to a daughter. And he was furious of this and basically hated this little girl. And he basically locked her in the tower. And she basically, was starving to death. The mother, was upset about this. And so the story is that the mother tried to climb up the tower to her daughter, and she fell off the tower and died. And they believe it's the mother that haunts this tower area. So that's one of the main stories there. And so they were nice enough to let us at least, investigate that little tower room. They let us set up equipment overnight in the tower room. But it was a cute little place, a beautiful castle, beautiful. And it's actually the castle portion. June was fortunate enough to actually stay in the castle portion. She stayed in the tower, in the room below the tower, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, kind of right beside the tower. But they say that area is supposed to be the most haunted.
Right.
All of those have had experiences.
Because there's only a small portion of the rooms actually have access to the old castle. The rest of it has been built on for the hotel. So the rest of we stayed in the newer part of the hotel. So the hotel, part of the hotel we were in, me and John were in, was actually built on the castle grounds. So it was added on. So I think, what happened in the tower room, June?
Let me think. Well, one thing, my camera was shut off, which was irritating. We had all that set up, everything else but my camera shut off.
We really tried to do a lot of live feeds and stuff like that, but unfortunately a lot of these places, Chillingham Castle was in the middle of nowhere, so we had no signal. And then, of course, the Ballygolly Castle, we had a signal right until we got up to the room, and then we lost the signal.
You'd think with the tallest part of the castle that we would have had a signal up there. Really? Yeah, that was really cool. I really enjoyed that. And where was it that I thought something shook me awake? Was that in Chillingham?
That was Chillingham.
Yeah, that's right. There was some place that I felt like somebody shook me awake, and I was like, yeah, because I thought it was you or something. I was like, what? And then there's nobody there, and I'm like, I swear somebody was shaking my arm awake. But we had places I can't remember.
Yeah, we had so much going on, and by the time we get to Ballygolly, we're pretty exhausted just from what we had done prior, and we kept going too because being in Northern Ireland, of course, you have to see the Giant's Causeway, so we took a bus out there and saw that.
Have you guys seen pictures of that, the Giant's Causeway?
I have. Your pictures are amazing.
Yes,
yeah, it's just fantastic.
Octagon, kind of shaped rocks, and oh my God, it was. Yeah, I wish we would have known more about it before we went, because it would have been nice to know that we should have brought some money with us in cash, because the tram that takes you all the way down and back, you have to pay them £1 or something each way, and we didn't bring any change with us, so it was a bit of a walk. But on the way back, I just happened to find £1 on the ground, and I jumped on the tram.
She left me and John behind. She's like, bye-bye.
It was like,
sorry, guys. Yeah.
Gotta go.
Well, it's a bit of a trek up the hill.
One of the things that June just said actually has been playing in my mind. Listening to you guys talk, it's like you almost get confused about which castle had what paranormal experience.
Yeah.
And so when I hear you guys talk about going on a haunted castle tour of Europe, that's almost redundant.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, right, exactly. I mean, when you have a location with that much history, don't you pretty much expect them all to be haunted or have some type of activity?
You would think, but honestly, as I was doing research, there's a lot of places that if you email them and ask them about ghosts, they say we have none. No, this is not a haunted place. Goodbye.
Or they really are haunted, but they don't want that reputation.
Well, I was going to say, and that very well could, because I remember the very first trip I took to the town of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, we stopped in the Visitor and Tourist Bureau, and were asking about the Mothman, and they totally acted like they didn't know what we were talking about.
Oh, you're kidding.
No. And they're like, well, we know there's a book and we know there's a movie, but we don't really deal with that here. You can go down, and there's some of the locals down on Main Street that can talk to you about that. And then about a year later, they hired a new marketing and tourism person who embraced the whole thing. But yeah, I mean, it's like you do find establishments that, do you want to play up the haunted aspect or do you play it down?
That's like the Stanley Hotel. The Stanley
exactly.
Hotel. Sometimes they really want to play up the haunting, and then next thing you know, it's like, no, it's really nothing's haunted here now. Keep moving. No ghosts here.
Nothing to see.
Mm-hmm. It's really interesting.
Well, I do have to say, since we were still on Bali Gali, it was, even though Bali Gali is now more of one of those, high-end hotels, it definitely, if you're going to be in that area, visiting the Giant's Causeway and stuff in Northern Ireland, and you're looking for a haunted castle, they do, take pride in their ghost story there. Like I said, they have a whole area that's devoted just for this ghost. I mean, you can go up there and talk about it and promote the ghosts all you want. So that was a pretty cool experience. I would say unless you have a lot of extra cash, maybe one night there. We spent 2 nights there. Yeah. So one night would have been enough, I guess. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, still, it was a nice experience. The food there was great.
Oh, man. That was like one of the first times I'd ever had Irish whiskey on my oatmeal. It was incredible.
Now June does it every morning. Lunch and dinner.
Like we're supposed to believe it was the first time.
Well, on my oatmeal. I mean, Irish whiskey on my oatmeal with cream. And it was like, oh, my gosh. This was so good. Or my porridge. I guess they call it the porridge. But it
was porridge.
Still oatmeal. Ross and I got into this debate there. I was like, it's oatmeal. He's like, no, it's porridge.
It was porridge.
It's the same thing. Oatmeal, porridge. It had oats in it.
Uh-huh. That's right. Yeah, you have that argument with somebody in Ireland, and you'll see where you come out.
Yeah. Oatmeal. But it was really good, though, I have to say. And we got our traditional, I had my black pudding. I almost had white pudding every day.
Okay, what's in black pudding, June?
Oh, it may be
blood. Blood.
That's what I was afraid of.
It's
black
blood
pudding. It's made out of blood.
Blood pudding.
Yeah.
It is.
And then white pudding is made out of pus.
It is not made out of pus, you gross thing.
Vomit.
No.
If black pudding is made out of blood, what do you think is going to make it white? Dead blood.
When you stop
if it's not pus, it's something we don't even want to go.
Yeah.
Well, we could go down that road. I'm just saying.
Don't be gross people out.
I think we've pretty much crossed that threshold at this point. We're talking about blood pudding. I mean,
it was really good. I have to say, I really like it. I like the blood.
No, I can't do it. Eating haggis was the most I could do when I was in Scotland.
Haggis is good, especially when it's fried in a fritter. It's like, oh my gosh, this is really good. It just tastes like haggis tastes like liver pate and a mixture of liver pate and hamburger. That's what.
And I don't like liver either. So.
There's not a damn word that you said that is appealing.
It's really good.
Well, maybe hamburger.
June is just sick and wrong. The woman is sick and wrong. Okay.
I did when I was in Washington D.C. for the 6 months. I did the client that I had. There was a French restaurant that he loved to go to, and we would go about once a week, and you could get goose liver pate, and I did try it one time, One time.
Once.
And I was drunk when I tried it. We had a couple of glasses of Glenlivet Scotch. I had about a
whiskey on your oatmeal.
A whiskey on your oatmeal, a little bit of Pinot Noir. And then I ordered, and I ate it. I ate it because he was paying, and it was expensive, but I ate it. But I would never do that again. Now, I've done the same thing with sushi and sashimi. You know, I've had squid, and I have had eel and octopus. I've done it once just to say I do it. I would never do that again. And you would never find me going, yeah, goose liver pate. It was like liver with a little bit of liver. That's what it tasted like. It was like eating liver with the consistency of peanut butter.
Yes, that's true. That's a good
Oh
analogy.
my God.
That's what it's like.
On a little cracker with some cheese, it's wonderful.
I'm gonna have me PB and J and liver sandwich. That's what I'm gonna have. It's just like liver, the taste of liver, the consistency of peanut butter. It's not good. There is nothing good about that whatsoever. So no, I can't. And haggis I haven't tried. I've seen it, thought about eating it, didn't do it. Want to, just to say that I did.
Well, if you do try it, get it fried.
Like a fritter.
Like a fritter. Fried as a fritter. I love that.
There is a fritter. Version of haggis.
Frittered
like,
haggis.
But you can
Now,
try it.
I want a fried. I want to go to McDonald's because obviously they're Scottish and order a fried haggis.
Yeah. You could batter dip a rat and fry it, and it would still probably taste good. Anything fried. So.
June,
you need to move to the South, June.
from Missouri.
Yeah.
Okay, that's true.
She's already chowed down on alligator.
Well, I've had alligator, and I like alligator.
Ugh.
Yeah, we had alligator balls. they were actually alligator. What is that? Hush puppies or alligator?
Yeah.
With the round fried things. Called them
No, she
alligator.
really meant the balls. It was really for it.
I know. I can actually see June walking around like the streets of New Orleans with a bag of alligator balls, just popping them in her mouth. You know? Just
Kind of like bonbons.
bonbons, exactly. Just pop 'em.
So salty inside.
But I've had alligator. I like alligator. I do. Alligator, the best that I can describe, it has the consistency of chicken, but it tastes like a spicy sausage.
Oh, that's a good thing. A spicy sausage.
Well, at least the way I had it in New Orleans, and that everything in New Orleans is kind of spicy, but it had the consistency of chicken, a little fishy, not a whole lot, but it tasted like a really spicy Italian sausage. It was great. It was like the best of three worlds.
Well,
It was like
I had a
like
bite, and that was it for me.
He tried it.
Oh.
It took a while to really convince him, but he finally tried it.
So
All
did
right.
we go off topic now?
Maybe it's just a little.
Well, just a second, please. Samantha, I know you're sick, sweetie, so I hope this isn't making you worse. A woman in chat. One of our 3 followers. Yeah.
One of the 3 blind mice that follow the Mystic Moon Cafe.
Okay, yes. We were
I can't even whistle.
So we were talking about Bali Gali, right?
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So we finished up at Bali Gali, 2 nights in Bali Gali.
Hey, where was
And
it?
then
We went up to the. We were going up to the Giant's Causeway. What was the name of those ruins? I had posted the picture, but we saw some incredible ruins of this castle that was like, I don't know how many.
right on the water, is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Oh, I don't remember the name of that castle. Oh my god, it was amazing.
But yeah, we saw this beautiful ruins too. It was pretty incredible in Northern Ireland.
So we take the bus down to Belfast. We stayed in Belfast for a day.
It was 2 days, wasn't it?
2 days in Belfast, yeah, that's right. 2 days
Is that
in
where
Belfast.
they hate Trump and make extreme fun of him?
Oh,
Oh, gosh.
I'm sorry, where isn't that?
Belfast.
No, I said, where isn't that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, where is it? Yeah.
No, yeah.
Yeah, everywhere I went. Let's just say we won't get into a political debate, but everywhere I went,
Mhm.
when the cab drivers found out where I was from, the jokes would not stop. Let's say, the American jokes would not stop. I tried to say I was Canadian once, and but then they still said, "Oh, you're close."
He's
enough."
like, don't lie to me. I smell Trump on you.
Ew.
But yes, no. In Belfast, though, honestly, I always had warnings never to go to Belfast because Belfast was supposed to be so violent and horrible history. So I was a little apprehensive about it. But then I kind of heard that it was a very safe place to go now.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we did is we took a tour from a cab driver.
The Black Cab Tours.
Yes, the Black Cab Tours. And he actually was a political prisoner while in Belfast. And so, he was very, he took us around to some of these places, and I actually had no idea about some of it. And they took us to this wall where all of these people who had died in the fighting and how many children had died in the fighting. And it just was this, I don't even know how many. I mean, it was just this huge, huge area with all of these names, faces, and pictures, and some of the martyrs that they had who had fought in the war for, different sides, basically. They had painted their pictures on the sides of the houses and who had died, for fighting for the cause.
Right.
And it was, yeah, I had no idea about it. So it was very enlightening and had my eyes opened on a few things. Some things you don't know all the sides of the stories because you're only at one side, but it was, your heart just broke when you saw all these pictures of children who had died in the fighting.
Yep.
And one really cool thing, we got to sign the peace wall.
Oh, cool.
That was really, really cool. So we did that. But yeah, a lot of things there I actually had no idea. It was a pretty cool place. I found a great women's clothing store that was really nice. I was like, oh my gosh, that was pretty cool.
Was it called The Lady in White?
No, it was.
Oh. That would be actually kind of cool and ironic if it were.
Yeah. I ordered something when I came back to the States from it because I was like, I really want this.
I think after, let's see, so we spent a couple days in Belfast, just a holiday express, so nothing fancy.
Yeah, no haunted.
Okay, I was going to say, was it haunted?
It could have.
No, unfortunately.
I would imagine the whole city is basically, if you listen.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
how many people have died in that city? It's probably a good reason. Well, we stayed right next door to the hotel that's the most bombed hotel in the in the world. It
You
has
didn't stay at that hotel?
we stayed next door to
Next
it.
to.
Yeah,
So you could look at it and go, ha ha.
yeah. I was like, whew, what? We're not there, but yeah, it has
We could
the most bombed hotel
Or
in
just
the world.
the most bombed hotel because it's a high-end hotel, so a lot of the political people were staying there, so that's one of the reasons why it was the most bombed. Because it was a high-end
Right.
fancy hotel, so
Right.
the wealthy stayed there, so gold figures stayed there. That's why it was bombed. So we unfortunately couldn't afford to stay there.
Right. We could not afford to stay there. It's one of those things. Do you want to really pay for that experience?
Right.
Yeah.
To have the 98% spitting on you every time you walk out the door.
Exactly.
When you said that, June, what I thought of was, I don't know if you've seen the movie America's Sweethearts with Billy Crystal and John Cusack, and Catherine Zeta-Jones' character is like, I think he may try to kill me. He's like, we're staying at a Hyatt. People don't kill people at Hyatts. Other chains maybe, but never Hyatts.
Yes. I can't remember what this one was with that.
Well, I was going to say, too, if I remember correctly, even though it was the most bombed, I don't think there was any casualties, was there?
No, because they called in the bomb threat right before it happened. And so they were evacuate all the people out. It was really bizarre.
Yeah. I think I remember him saying that being that this most bombed hotel, there wasn't any cases. So after Belfast, we took the train down to, or no, it was the bus, right?
Yeah.
We took the bus down to Dublin.
Right.
And June, at the last minute, before we left on our trip, that she wanted to stay at this castle. It was another haunted castle. Mm-hmm. And she was bound and determined to do this, so of course, I'm not going to stand in her way. So she set us up. What was the name of the castle again?
Oh my God, I forgot.
Clondark or
Clondark Castle. Clondark Castle.
It was like
what would you do
something like that
for the Klondike Castle?
Klondike Castles.
Klondike Castle. Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Castle, yeah. Clontarf Castle. Yeah, it was beautiful.
Oh, like
Clontarf,
Clontarf,
yeah.
right? Basically.
Clontarf. Yeah.
Okay.
It was, but it was set up for Christmas. It was, the lights everywhere. It was all purple inside, and unfortunately, it was like they have a lot of Christmas activities there, so they have a lot of people going through, and they were extremely busy there. So it was, they had a lot of people there because they had like a Christmas bazaar there where, hundreds of people were going through it, and so it was a little bit crowded, but it was beautiful, so especially walking around there at night, and fireplaces and.
Oh yeah, it was a beautiful, beautiful castle. In fact, the courtyard was converted into the lobby.
Mm-hmm.
So, what used to be the courtyard, you can see they put a glass roof over it now, and now there's this big, beautiful fireplace and beautiful sitting area, a big giant Christmas tree in the center. Again, it's another one of those high-priced hotels that that was once a castle.
Yeah.
But it was it was a beautiful place to visit. We took a lot of pictures inside. We didn't focus on the because it was so much going on, so many people. There was no way we could even do an investigation. We had no way of getting into some of these places.
Yeah.
So we just spent the last 2 days, and I think we were pretty exhausted anyways. That we
pretty tired.
Yeah.
Oh my God. But going into Dublin was really cool, and I'd never been to Dublin before, so it was pretty amazing. And seeing that bridge and some of the places. Where did we go? Oh, we had to have fish and chips in Dublin, and we went to a kind of a famous place.
Well, they all claim to be the world's famous fish and chips.
Yeah. Exactly. Mm-hmm. But this was the place John really wanted to go. That was pretty famous. But it was really cool. A lot of people, that's for sure. So much.
I think
there.
And this is my second time to being in Dublin. My first time in Dublin, I was really sick, and so I really wanted to visit the cemetery, and this cemetery out there is huge cemetery.
That's an understatement.
Yeah.
It was like, I don't even know how many hundreds of miles that place was.
I was going to say, all of a sudden, Ross just sounded like Donald Trump if he was a paranormal investigator. It's huge.
Pretty much. It's huge.
When we were going to the cemetery, though, the cab driver was telling me some of the history of it, that over 1 million people are buried in the cemetery. Mm-hmm. And he says, but young lady, he called me young lady because, of course, I'm young. But he says, young lady, he says, do you know that now no person living around the cemetery can be buried in the cemetery, and do you know why? And I was like, no, why? He goes, because they're not dead yet.
Yeah, the people are just dying to get in there.
Yes, he said that. Yep, he said that too.
Nice.
Yeah, it was pretty cute though.
Well, and with the brogue, and yeah, I'm sure.
But he thought it was hilarious. But oh my God, that place was incredible. I have never seen so many Celtic crosses and so intricate on all of these graves. It was beautiful. And you had a really cool experience there, Ross.
I did. I'm trying to remember.
Just when you were going past one of the crypts and you thought something when you looked in one of the crypts.
Oh.
Yeah.
So there was these crypts. They're kind of built into the ground, and then up above is more tombstones. And so I was going past them, and I swear I thought I heard something knock on one of the doors. And they're these big metal doors.
Yeah.
And I was walking past it, and I swear something knocked on the door. And, I turn around, and and there's these tiny little holes, trying to look through these little holes. And I literally kept thinking about all those horror movies when you go to look through a peephole, an eyeball pops up on the other side,
Yep. Or they gouge it through something through.
Yeah,
and gouge
the
your
ice
eyeball
pick
out.
goes right through it. Yep, ice pick comes right through. June will come up behind me. And says, "What are you looking at?" And pull my dead body off of it and scream. But first, you take pictures of my bloody corpse.
Exactly. Yep. She'd be like, "Wait! Don't die! I need to get my my recorder out."
And you need EVP.
But, it's funny when me and June go into cemeteries because constantly we're fighting for the same picture.
Yes,
So after a while, after the first 10 minutes of us fighting, we go our separate ways.
But
and
they
then
still
we
come back with the same pictures. Yeah.
It's kind of funny. But, what can we say? We have the same tastes in so many things.
But, June's in her element. When the fact of the matter, before you get to the cemetery, she's bitching and complaining about her feet and walking. But then once she gets in the cemetery, she can't stop.
Right.
It's like, have to keep going. Must keep going.
I see Angel. Take a picture of it. I must take a picture. And then it's like my camera runs out, my battery runs out. I'm like, oh my God. I was like, I'd only taken 2,000 pictures, and I still had more pictures to take. And my battery died, and then I have to take the rest of the pictures on my phone. I was like, so it was awful. So then I started taking wide landscape, pictures of all of them because I thought if I see one I like, I can just crop each one.
Right.
But,
now, June,
yeah.
was that the I'm probably not going to say that right, but Glasnevin Cemetery? Okay.
Glasnevin or whatever it's called.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah. However the
way.
pronunciation goes.
Yes, it was amazing. I have to say that was one. I think my favorite cemetery of all time is Highgate Cemetery because of all the monuments there.
Sure.
But
and then plus it's all overgrown too. It's just, when nature takes over a cemetery, it just makes it so much more beautiful.
Yeah,
That is true.
Yeah.
Although my favorite cemetery is any one that I'm not in at the moment.
Yes, exactly.
As long as I'm not interred, I'm okay.
Yes, there's this one monument there of an angel, and she's holding a calla lily down by her side, and she's kind of looks like she's crying. It's beautiful, beautiful statue, and all the vines are kind of growing up, around her, and oh my gosh, it's just so eerie because she's all by herself in the middle of this one area that doesn't, all the other tombstones are completely covered in vines, and so you can't see her, but she's just kind of there in the middle of this area, and it's just beautiful. It's like, but it's kind of sad too because all these people are basically forgotten because the vines have overtaken all their stones and
families aren't around anymore. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But so Highgate is my favorite for monuments and statues and things. But this one was just beautiful. Like I said, all the intricate Celtic crosses were just beautiful. And they had a lot of really, beautiful angels. It was very a lot of statues of Mary, and things like crosses.
Well,
And
you got fantastic pictures there.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, some of them. I think Highgate Cemetery, we got some of the best pictures.
Right, but I mean, as far as getting those intricate Celtic crosses and knots and everything, you showed really well on it. Thank you for that, both of you.
Thank you.
We have to get Ross's pictures out. He takes all these beautiful pictures and he keeps them. Does not show them to the world.
Yeah, and that's my goal. Hopefully this year, to try and get some more of my stuff published.
Yeah.
So.
Ross is just sitting there with his images going, "My precious." Can't share with anybody. Nobody gets to see. They're just for his enjoyment.
So technically, when I tell June my picture's better than yours, I can't prove it.
Yeah.
But she can't prove it's not.
That's right.
Where is it? I have to say, one of my favorite pictures I took, I think, was one that when we were in the west side of Highgate Cemetery. It's those where the crypts going around the corner
with that tree on top.
Oh, that's kind of cool too. But no, the one where it's just the crypts, the doors.
That is really neat as well. Extremely.
I mean, not saying that's a good picture. I'm just saying it was a really cool place.
Okay. Well, you recorded it quite well for us to walk along with you, basically. Thank you.
Yeah, I was really lucky to get that because there were so many people around, and then all of a sudden I snapped it, and I was like, yes, nobody's there.
Generally, when I snap, people run too, so it's all good.
Like I said, she watches a lot of NCSI and Criminal Minds, and she, quote unquote, cleans rental property.
I think
actually, you know what? We actually, you should actually go into forensic cleaning. Yeah, I mean, there could be a
if I wasn't so squeamish, it would be fine, but I am, so I can't.
Yeah, that would be pretty.
My God, the stuff that she is squeamish over, it's amazing. We can't talk about demons or possessions or exorcisms. She gets squeamish over that. Cleaning up dead bodies, it's killing me. I know, it's killing me.
Well, you talk about demons and everything else all the time anyway, so UFOs.
That's true. I know.
Have you seen that movie called that Sunshine Cleaning?
Yes.
That's really good.
Yes.
Amy Adams, I think.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
No, I don't think I saw it.
It's actually very funny.
Okay.
It's a woman that starts making money cleaning up murder
scenes. Murder, yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually really
Sunshine Cleaning. So
Sunshine Cleaning. Yeah, it's
well, now I could take Mom because Mom would do it just because. And she'd know how to get all the stains out.
I was going to say, it would remind her of those days of dating the Italians.
That was me. Ross and I are clean.
But I was going to say, speaking of Ross's pictures and works, are you going to be working the trip and the investigations and the photographs into a book about haunted castles, Ross?
I thought about it, but there's so many books on haunted castles, it'd just be really hard to compete with that. Right now, I think my focus has been trying to film everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what I'm going to do with all of our travels and all the videos and stuff that I've done is I do want to develop kind of a series called Worldly Haunts, where I can narrate a lot of the places that I've been to and show 3D 360 video so you can actually feel like you're standing right there where I once stood. And you just kind of take it into some of these places, because, you know, I do feel very fortunate that I've had the opportunity to visit a lot of these amazing places. Mm-hmm. And I know there's a lot of people, especially in the paranormal field, that can't afford to do, you know, trips like this. So giving them the opportunity, especially with, you know, the access that we have to VR, I think it would be kind of a fun experience to kind of put them in that spot, you know, and join us on investigations. You know, we've just put in some money for, you know, infrared VR as well now. So we have a few of those cameras. So now, you know, we can film in the dark, and now you can actually, you know, join us in the dark in full VR.
Now, and forgive my ignorance in the question I'm about to ask, because I don't actually, contrary to popular belief, spend a whole lot of time on Facebook. While you guys were investigating, shut up, Wendy. While you guys were investigating, did you Facebook Live any of the stuff that you were doing?
On our trip, unfortunately, we didn't get to do a lot. I think there was a few. I know we did a few. Yeah, at Volley Golly, we did a couple live feeds. I know we did one from June's room, trying to go upstairs, but then we lost the signal when we got upstairs.
Probably a good thing.
It was a dead zone, for real.
It was a red zone. Sadly, that's my love life.
You know, and the problem that we had, a lot of the videos that we did, we had to pre-record and then post when we had access to Wi-Fi. Right. Because a lot of the places that we were at, again, these castles are in the middle of nowhere. Right. So even locals might, you know, be lucky enough to have a signal. You know, we have to rely, you know, because, you know, we couldn't afford, you know, to have access to our cell phones. We had to depend on the Wi-Fi signals, and a lot of that we were very limited on.
Yeah, my data ran out really fast. I was like, oh man,
oh, no.
Yeah, within the first 3 days, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. What the hell? Do you know how expensive this is? Oh my God.
I don't even want to see what her phone bill was when she got back.
Oh, yeah.
It was more than the trip itself, probably.
Yeah, it was about 400 and something.
Holy cow.
That's all? I mean, honestly, that's expensive, but that's all?
Yeah, I had the deal. You know, you do the international, like, thing. And so I had gotten a deal about it, so it's still, you know, but still it was about $400. I was like, oh, God. So the rest of the time I kept turning my phone off just completely, like, oh, no. Because there were some times that you're using your data plan, you don't even realize that you're using Wi-Fi, and I thought the airplane mode was on, and nope, it was not. So... yeah, that was really irritating.
Right.
I've learned my lesson now. Next time we go, because we're going to Italy in August. So we go there, it's like, yeah, I'm airplane mode the whole time. I'm taking it off.
I do have to say, I'm also going to Europe in just a few weeks as well.
Oh, really? Where are you headed in a few weeks?
Yeah.
June's like, it doesn't matter. She's not going. She's not talking about it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Days off.
Yeah, unfortunately, she's too limited on her days. So
I know that.
So I'm going to Sweden, I'm going to Denmark, and I'm going to Germany.
The other white race. So
Jawohl.
What? Listen.
What are you going to do there, Ross?
Listen to Schindler making the German jokes.
I leave.
She has a list of them. Trust me.
Yeah, I leave at the end of February and I come back early March.
So just a week and a half, I think.
Yeah, I think it's just a week and a half. I'm actually going to be focusing on this trip to do some more filming at haunted locations. So I got a couple haunted castles out there that I'm going to go visit. Unfortunately, I'm not staying in them. Again, they're too expensive. But I'm also, I'm a huge Lego fanatic, I'm going to where Lego started in Billund, Denmark. And so I'm going to go to the Lego Museum, so I'm really excited about that.
Okay, I have if you will take a bunch of pictures and send, my son is a Lego fanatic.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Yeah.
He is, a Lego fanatic. He still builds, he's 15, but he still builds with his Legos to this day.
I'm 15 too.
Exactly.
You should see Ross's Lego, his creations. Yeah, I'll believe it.
Let's see. This has probably been about 6 Christmases ago. We got even though my ex-wife and I are divorced, obviously she's my ex. We went together and got him the Harry Potter Hogwarts castle.
Wow.
Lego set. He put the thing together in 3 days.
Yeah.
And it was done. And I'm like, wow. I want to enroll. I want to sign up.
Ross usually gets his creations like really early in the morning, and he won't stop practically sometimes until they are finished. We even put him on time lapse one time with the Ghost Hunters. Yes. Yep. And I just kind of hang out sometimes and just watch TV. Then about midnight.
That's funny.
Or he has to take a break, 24 hours later. I got to take a little break.
Yeah, when you start to have blisters on the tips of your fingers.
Yes.
But, I've got a huge... My dream as a child is I always wanted to have a Lego city. And so I have accomplished that. I literally have a Lego city.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Believe it. It's incredible.
I would love to see a picture of that sometime. That's awesome.
There are some pictures on my Facebook page.
Okay, I will have to go look. Contrary to popular belief, I don't stay on Facebook. I don't stay on social media. I don't know why Wendy laughs.
She just laughs.
I just have to laugh. Yep. I just saw a message in our page inbox from Rita Dean, and she says, "Hi, Ross and June."
Hello.
Do you have any idea who that is?
Yeah, she's a friend of ours on Facebook.
Okay, I was going to say.
She is, yes.
This is one of those crazy stalkers, I tell ya.
Have you guys had those yet? Because they do exist.
Yeah, her name's June Nixon. Hello.
You love it.
June, and
I stay with them all the time.
the demure June Antoinette Nixon, a.k.a. Brothel Babe. That's what
That'll be my nickname.
Oh.
I love brothels. Especially when they're falling apart and old and decrepit.
You're talking about the brothels and not the individuals in them, right?
Exactly.
Okay, I'm just asking for clarification.
Yeah, Ross let me go into Area 51. He wouldn't let me go into the Area 51 alien brothel.
Oh, which one?
I just wanted to look at it.
I've actually, I've driven by that one.
It's really just so funny.
And oddly stopped the car, and oddly got out, and oddly went in.
No, we went to. Are you talking about going into Pahrump, or are you talking about the little alien in?
The little alien, yeah.
That's not a brothel. That's just a hotel and restaurant. I've been there.
No, this actually was a brothel.
Yeah, right next door to the big brothel, alien.
Oh, yes. Okay, yeah.
It's right next to a gas station. We stopped at the gas station, and it was right there.
One of the worst windstorms in the history there, they said.
The history of history.
The history, it's like that whole scene in the campaign with Will Ferrell and Zach Galifianakis when he's like, the numbers are tanking. He's like, well, how bad are they? The worst in the history of numbers. It's the worst we've ever seen. The one that We drove into Pahrump, Nevada, and there was the the Cherry Patch Ranch. That was one of them, and the Also Sexy Massage Parlor. The Madame Butterfly Also Sexy Massage Parlor, and there was something else. But we drove down. We came off of the road and we came into Pahrump. And actually, Pahrump is where Art Bell used to host Coast to Coast AM from.
Yeah, that's right.
And actually, we drove by Art's house, and it was behind this huge gated facility, but there was this satellite farm in the back. Like a dozen satellite dishes. The big, like SETI satellite dishes, not the Dish or DirecTV satellite dishes,
Exactly.
but the big ones. But we drove down the street, and you had these, because in Pahrump is one of those places in Nevada where that it's legal. Prostitution is legal. So you had all these brothels, and they had these fronts, and they looked like, out of Tombstone. They had this really old Western kind of look and feel.
Wow.
And then we got back up on the road driving to Rachel, Nevada, in Area 51, and we looked back down off of the road, and they were all like movie fronts.
Oh, really? Oh, my God.
And what was behind, I swear to God, was a bunch of single-wide trailers welded together.
Oh, my.
I would not have walked through those doors in a hazmat bodysuit. There is no way.
That was almost like that little ghost town in Nevada that we went through. It's like they had all the faces looking like a little Western town, but the back were like tin shacks.
Yes. Yeah.
I was like, let's not get out, because didn't you kind of like stop and get out? And I was like, no, let's not get out, please.
Hills have eyes.
Exactly. It was, now, I do have to say, on the way to Pahrump, we stopped at this little saloon called the Long Branch Saloon. It was in Crystal Lake, Nevada, was the name of the town. The coldest beer I have ever tasted in my life.
Oh, wow.
That's the best way.
Not because the beer itself was cold. It was just as hot as hell outside.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We had a really cool trip through was it Topinaw, Nevada, where where the Clown Motel is.
Oh yeah, totally.
Every time I see that on Facebook, because it pops up all the time, I want to send it to Wendy, but I know she's seen it like a dozen times.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be honest with you, it's not what it's cracked up to be.
It's not.
Is it not funny?
Not.
It is a Motel 6 with clowns.
That's terrifying in and of itself, though.
Yeah, the motel part of it, yes, but the clowns are actually are actually in the lobby area. The rooms don't have a bunch of clowns in them. They might have a clown picture or two, but that's it.
Right, until you nod off at night, and then they're all in your room trying to throttle you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the lobby with different clowns.
Now, Ross, you got a new clown, didn't you? A new clown doll for the Death Museum?
Oh, yeah, Crinkles the clown.
Mm-hmm.
The cursed clown, as I should say.
Crinkles the cursed clown. That's hard to say.
Yes.
Yes.
Crinkles the cursed clown.
Yep, he actually was given to us because once he was brought into the family, they claimed that just a bunch of bad stuff started happening. So they believed that he was cursed, and they got rid of him. And they did happen to say that since they got rid of him, things have been fine. So,
is there a known story about where he came from?
No one knew any information about him.
How did they inherit him? Was it like they buy it? Was it?
They found him in. They said they found him in a trash heap, and yeah. So
first rule of thumb: don't pick up a clown doll in a trash heap. I mean, it's probably a bad sign.
Or a Ouija board, yeah.
Or a Ouija board, right? If it's in the trash, it's there for a reason.
Exactly. Makes you wonder.
So yeah. So I
don't want to touch him even. You know, I'm one of these people that really doesn't bother me about any of the dolls because I really like the little haunted dolls that we have at the Spooked in Seattle.
Right.
Because we have a very nice haunted doll and creepy doll collection. But for some reason, that little clown, I just don't want to even touch. It's like, oh, no, that's okay. you hold him. The other one, I don't really mind so much. The other ones.
And you know, June, at this point in time, every midget clown listening to this radio program went, "Aww."
I'll touch you in another way, but not that way.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
So, to the Death Museum and the dolls, how many dolls do you guys have there?
Have we ever counted?
I don't think we've ever counted. We probably have a little over maybe 25.
Okay. But most of them, you have been able to ascertain, if I remember correctly from the book, a little bit of history and what surrounds them. Right. So and the reason I'm asking is with Crinkles the clown, the creepy clown, are you going to try to find the history? And do you even know where to begin looking?
Unfortunately, to be honest with you, a lot of these, toys that do get donated to us, we don't get a lot of history. To be honest, it's just one of those things that people get terrified of these toys, and whether they've had it in their family or not, something they might have picked up at a pawn shop or a thrift store, or something that was just a friend of the family gave to them, or whatever reason. A lot of these just come with a vague history as like, this doll freaks me out. I don't want it anymore in my home.
Right.
Or this doll, my child up. My child has bruises. They've had nightmares. Everything, it's horrible. They're dreaming about this doll. We don't want this doll anymore, and take it.
Right.
So actually stop.
So you're limited on this bit of information unless you have direct contact with the person that has owned the doll.
Right.
Most of this is just a toy that has been passed on from one person. I don't like this doll, take it from me. Gives it to somebody else. Oh, I don't like it either. Give it to so and so, and then it finally ends up at Spooked in Seattle.
Okay.
So go ahead.
No, the reason I ask is twofold. A couple of weeks ago, we had Bill Bean on, and Bill's had this particular line of thinking on several episodes where we've interviewed him. Bill talks about individuals who go to estate sales and flea markets and those types of things, and they buy things blindly, and they bring them back to the home not knowing the history.
Right.
And those individuals many times have brought into their home something that is either tainted or haunted, or there is some form of a negative energy attached to it. So my question is, when these dolls come to you, first of all, do you all do anything at all to counter the possible negative energy attached to it?
Honestly, no. I think what helps us to prevent any of the negativity that might be attached to some of these dolls is we respect the toy. Mm-hmm. And sometimes
haunted. Yeah.
And sometimes I think some of these energies, whatever that might be attached to it, may like the attention that they get being at Spooked in Seattle. In some cases, if you think about it, maybe some of these toys were attacking, or what they might have thought was an attack, was to try and get the owner's attention, to say, hey, I'm here, look at me, play with me, do whatever.
Right.
And in most cases, people are too afraid. They throw it in a closet, they throw it in a box, and then they just ignore it.
Which only intensifies the
Exactly.
activity. Right.
And so now they are in a situation where they're getting the attention that they probably, want. So I think in that case, that might put us in a situation where these spirits might be at ease. But then there's also situations that we've learned, through haunted toys, that certain individuals may trigger what's going on with this doll. Mm-hmm. These dolls and toys could be dormant for quite some time, and then somebody comes along and triggers something that brings it to life. Mm-hmm. And then if that trigger's not around anymore, it goes dormant again.
Right.
So, that could be the situation as well.
So have you, or do you offer, and again, I'm questioning just, for the sake of offering questions right now. Do you offer individuals advice if they're out shopping at antique stores, flea markets, things like that? Should they be careful what they buy? And
well, of course, it doesn't have to be a toy. It can be any type of antique. You can go to a thrift store,
right,
and pick up something that is not even an antique and still have something attached to it. Sure. It just depends on how that object meant to the individual, for whatever reason. So you take that gamble anytime you bring something, used into your home.
Right.
I always tell people, if there's something that you pick up and you just get the heebie-jeebies, don't bring it to your home.
Yeah, exactly.
Leave it there. Let somebody else pick it up.
Exactly. And so, if trust your gut feeling.
But how many people really do even give credence to their gut feelings anymore? I mean, we are evolving out of that.
Yeah.
I listen.
Well, and I try to. I'm stupid when it comes to some things, but I try to listen to my gut.
So a lot of times you say, "Oh, I'm just being silly. Stop it."
Exactly. I mean, and how do?
Whoops! Should have listened.
Exactly.
Right. How do you tell the difference between gas and negative energy?
Exactly. And it's like, my ex-wife loved antique stores. She would. We could go somewhere and she would get lost in antique stores, and she would want to, pick out and buy, and it didn't matter. My parents are the same way. My parents love antiques. They're just like all about anything that is old. And I'm like, but, there's history. Anything that you accept, anything that you buy, that you pick up, even if you find it, you're bringing its history with you. It's kind of like a relationship. You're bringing the baggage with you.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right.
And you don't always know what that baggage is. And you don't always understand what that baggage is. So, are there... This is a very, very vague question, but it has a very, very distinct purpose in that. Are there certain signs that people can look for when they bring something into their home and into their life that has negative baggage attached to it?
Well, the first thing is going to be that, fight or flight. Mm-hmm. If this is one of those things that you just, when you pick it up right away and you know that this is something that just gives you the, as I always put it, the creep factor. Mm-hmm. You don't know if it has a threat or not. So you're unsure about this object. That's your number one thing. Trust that, that feeling in your gut. Because, that's been installed in us, for a reason, So that would be the first thing. And then, of course, are you familiar with its origins? There's a lot of things that are homemade that if you can't, determine where its origins are from, was it made from a company? Is it handmade by something? If it's handmade, then, its history is going to be probably a little more shadier than something that was factory made. So you don't know what the purpose of this object was, why it was made. So that's something to look out for. It's a tough thing to answer because when it comes to haunted objects, there are so many elements out there. But the biggest thing that I can't express enough is just, trusting your gut feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
That's going to be your biggest alarm when it comes to something that's negative.
Right. If it gives you the heebie-jeebies, or you're just like, ugh, yeah, just put it back down.
and walk away. Drop it, walk away.
Or send it to Spooked in Seattle.
There you go.
Which happens quite a bit. A lot of people buy these things or whatever, and then all of a sudden weird stuff starts happening in their house or whatever. The dolls start doing some weird stuff.
So you said, so basically you have a facility that is housing, at this time, 25 haunted, cursed, possessed, paranormal dolls under one roof. Under one roof.
And it's not just dolls, too. We have
it's other things,
objects.
Other objects.
Mm-hmm.
So, but where do they come from? I mean, are they all from the West Coast, or do you have them from all over the world?
I've gotten them from all over the world. A lot of it has come from people sending me their objects that they don't want anymore. And then a lot of it comes from other collectors that I've been in touch with that their collection gets too big and they don't, have room for any of this stuff. So they start selling off their pieces or giving away their pieces. So, a lot of that comes from that. So it just comes from various different places that I've had the opportunity to visit as well.
Do you find the activity is centered at any one geographic location? But as far as, okay.
Yeah.
It's from all over, a haunted object can come from, easily from somebody being killed in a car accident, from an object that sat in an abandoned castle for, hundreds to thousands of years.
Mm-hmm.
But wouldn't it be more potent on the length of time?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
They could say that a doll that was involved in a car accident that a child held could be more potent because it's fresh right after the death, whereas something that sat in a haunted castle for long time has faded. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe taking it out of its native land could even further diminish its whatever.
Exactly.
Well, exactly, and taking it away from the other physical objects that it's tied to.
Right.
Exactly.
A room, a bed, a house, the living quarters, those types of things. It diminishes the further away it's removed.
Like we have an old clock that sat on a guard's desk in an old prison. And they said that this clock every so often would just go off, and it hasn't been working for, decades. But yet they say every so often the alarm would just start ringing. And I've had it at Spooked in Seattle, and since I've had it, it's never gone off.
Interesting.
Yeah. Because maybe it's been taken away from the element that triggered it, being in that prison.
Well, and that brings up a different line of questioning. Do paranormal objects have a power source?
It kind of goes into the whole situation where a lot of people talk about residual hauntings. Mm-hmm. And, when we talk about a residual haunting, this is activity that happens on a cycle. It keeps playing out the same thing over and over again. And it's not, intelligent haunting. It doesn't interact with the environment.
Right. It just repeats itself.
Same thing could be right. And so when people talk about residual hauntings, my biggest thing is, well, how do you get rid of a residual haunting? Well, maybe the way to get rid of a residual haunting is to find the source that triggers it, that powers it. Maybe there's a lot of EMF in that area of the room, and so that will feed the source, and so it constantly is allowed to trigger that action over and over again. Well, same thing could be about a haunted object. Maybe it's in a certain area where there's a lot of EMF energy around it, and so it's able to give it that energy to do whatever it's meant to do. So I think in some situations, the environment is going to affect it. So it's, again, this is all paranormal, always going to be more questions than answers, and, we rely on theories. So we don't have all the answers, but I think there's some pretty good guesses out there.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Now, I don't know if you are familiar with. It was a show that I listened to Monday night, and they're doing a special on it. But they're the spook lights from like Hornet, Missouri, and the Brown Mountains in is that North Carolina, Travis?
It is. It is North Carolina.
I had our astrologist look it up. I was curious about ley lines and what anything in the area that might be just magnetic lines basically. Anything that might be powering it, causing the phenomenon, whatever, and that kind of came back as negative. The only factor in both places was a kind of an abnormally high amount of zinc in the soil.
Mm-hmm.
I was just curious. Do you know of those? Do you have any thoughts?
To be honest with you, I have not been a big follower when it comes to ley lines. Mm-hmm. I do find, especially when it comes to, castles and stuff like that, there were a lot of theories that maybe a lot of the minerals and the rocks that a lot of these, castles were built out of could, even generate a lot of this energy that created a lot of these hauntings within the castle. So especially when it comes to, as we talked about, residual hauntings, it's one of those things like, what is it in our environment that somehow records these events that play out over and over again? Sometimes, people say, well, maybe it's an area of high EMF,
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's some of the materials, maybe it's, the materials in the ground that the house is built on. And we just don't have all the answers.
Right.
It's really hard to tell you exactly what is the cause of this. How do these things happen? Why do, ghost lights appear out of nowhere? And that's what makes this field so fascinating as well. It's challenging, it's frustrating, it's tedious, but some of these cases can be so fascinating, and when you get a glimpse into that actual phenomena and experience it for yourself, it's just it's an adrenaline rush,
Absolutely.
So there is a bit of an addiction to it, but I think for me it's still a lot of those. I want more answers. That's my drive in a lot of this.
Well, they had just kind of the spook lights had kind of caught my attention because my grandma said that she saw them when she was a little girl growing up down in the Ozarks. So, I just kind of went, I just look a little further, just a little bit.
Yeah, when it comes to ley lines, and this is just the skeptic in me talking. All right, it's so easy to take one dot and find another dot and connect those two dots and say that's a ley line. A lot of people, rely on the paranormal to prove the paranormal. I've seen people use dowsing rods to follow a ley line. Mm-hmm. Well, that's, again, using the paranormal to prove the paranormal.
True.
So I tend to focus more on, as I've always said, go with what we know and not with what we think we know. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's an interesting theory that there are, these lines underneath the crust of the earth that, generate a lot of this energy, which, they claim that, these sacred places are tied to, the pyramids are all on a ley line and all this other stuff. And again, interesting theories, and I try to keep it, and I keep an open mind. I'm not going to say no, there's no such thing as ley lines. I've never personally investigated ley lines,
okay, but
I tend to be a little more skeptical when it comes to things like that, because I want more solid evidence that there is something there, rather than just using a dowsing rod and say, oh, there's a ley line right underneath me.
Oh, right, absolutely. Okay. Well, that's why I was getting your take on it, too, because I'm like, do I or don't I believe, or undoubtedly there are magnetic lines, that's proven by NASA and,
right.
places, but are they magically inclined?
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So it's... Again, interesting theories out there. Mm-hmm. My focus tends to be, okay, if I'm going to get involved in a theory, let's try to prove it or disprove it.
Right. And some of them just aren't. You just can't prove or disprove it.
Yeah, exactly. You can't, you know.
Mm-hmm. All right. Travis had to step away a minute.
He's back.
Oh, he's back already.
Did June die?
Yes, I did.
Okay, I was curious.
No.
I just love listening to Ross talk, so I just sit back and listen.
I love listening to both you guys talk. It's what I love about having you on the show. Wendy and I just get to sit back and don't have to do anything. You guys just start talking and you talk about investigations and where you've been. It's great.
Brothels.
Okay, here's one. What's the difference between a bordello and a brothel? And that's a question, not a joke.
Who asked that question?
Is there a difference?
I don't know. Maybe just the locale.
Yeah, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the clientele.
I feel like I should know this one, and I feel like I've heard this, but I can't remember now. I think with Haunted Sex coming out, I think I might have to put that in the book.
Oh, definitely should. Yes.
When is Haunted Sex coming out?
We're me and David Weatherly are still finishing up Haunted Ships and Lighthouses. We just have a couple more stories we want to add.
I was going to ask about that because it was like a year ago you were on talking about that particular book.
Yeah, we were. It got put on the side just for a little bit because David's been busy working on a couple other books. Mm-hmm. So I think he's falling behind. I got my part turned in, but then he also had mentioned that we might want to throw in some new, more unique stories because we do want our series to kind of stand out a little bit more than all the other books out there. So we are trying to come up with some more unique stories and experiences for people with the series. So right now, I have 2 more stories that he wants me to submit. And we do have the outline for Haunted Sex ready to go. We've been filming the documentary. We got 1 more segment we want to film for that. So we're looking at, definitely getting things out in at least sometime late this year.
Okay. Very cool. Looking forward to all of those.
Absolutely.
Haunted lighthouses, boats, haunted sex. Hell, I'm interested in sex of any kind at this point in my life. So I'm, whether it's haunted or not.
Believe me, I know that feeling.
Says the woman who every time she investigates something, it was a brothel.
Yes, I know. I've got to tell you something about my life. Sex in the past.
Oh, good times. Oh, well, we definitely want to have you guys back on before another year transpires.
Definitely.
Well, you bet.
Yes.
We have a lot of trips coming up, everything like this, where we're not just not just Athens, but Preston Castle, investigation, and all sorts of different investigations coming
up. We got
up.
an abandoned hospital we're working on. We got let's see, we're going to be down at Eureka Paracon.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely be down in Nevada for that.
Oh, and we will be we're meeting our friends from Edinburgh, and we will be investigating Waverly Hills too.
Holy
Waverly Hills,
okay. Nice.
going back to Bobby Mackey's.
Okay, when are you guys going to be at Waverly's and Bobby Mackey's? Do you know yet?
Well,
what weekend is that?
Around the end of April.
Okay.
End of April.
Okay, you guys will only be about 2 hours away from me.
So I'll give you all the information and everything.
Yeah, I would love to come and just hang out. I don't have to go on the investigation. I'll buy drinks and dinner. We'll just go out.
Awesome. Love that.
Yeah. So that would be great. Because Louisville, which is where Bobby Mackey's and Waverly Hills, a little bit further, not a lot, but yeah, I mean, you're talking, 2 hours max for me.
Okay, definitely. Love to meet you in person.
I would love it. That would be great.
Yeah, we got that coming up. That's going to be part of my haunted road trip. So we're going to be doing something on that. We're flying into Chicago, meeting our friends from Scotland there, and we're driving them down to New Orleans.
Mm.
Oh.
So we're hitting all kinds of haunted spots all the way down.
There's a few there. Been there.
Yep. And then what else? We got the Preston Castle Paracon I'll be lecturing at.
Con you'll be lecturing at in Denver, Colorado.
Yep, HOST-Con. I'll be lecturing at that. And then, let's see, what else? I have something literally going on every month. I'm going somewhere.
Nice.
I can't keep track of it. In fact, if anybody, wants to follow me on Facebook, look up Ross Allison Ghost Hunter. Follow me, and I do a lot of live feeds from a lot of the haunted places that I visit.
Yep.
Like I said, every month I'm going to be going somewhere. Trying to think what else is on our list. Then of course in August, September, we're going to be going to Italy. Mm-hmm. So we're going to be doing some haunted places out there. My big goal is to see the crypts in Sicily, to see some of the famous mummies there. So I'm excited about that.
And we got the Oregon Ghost Conference coming up in...
Oh, yeah, the Oregon Ghost Conference.
Yeah, March 23rd, 24th, and 25th is the Oregon Ghost Conference. It's in Seaside, Oregon, which is really fun.
Very cool.
That. So I was trying to look through my calendar here of all the different places we're going.
I can't even think of everything. I'm already starting to worry about all the tickets I have to get. I'm like, oh my God, what?
Is my passport up to date? Am I going to be able to get back into the country?
Yeah.
And June's mad at me because she's like, oh my God, I can't go to all these places. How dare you go without me?
Say that. But I thought it.
That's when she starts sending me dead birds in boxes on my front porch.
Yep.
Well, it does kind of sound like payback for when she and I ran up to Villisca that one afternoon.
Yeah, we went to the Villisca Axe Murder House, and we also went to the Sally House and got to invest. So that was pretty cool. So yes, I've been to some places that Ross hasn't been, so that's been nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they were in Missouri, and Ross is like, so what?
Yep, exactly.
Those people around that area, they're just crazy anyways.
Certifiably.
Yeah. Exactly.
Our moms get us tested.
And the Belvoir Winery, which we crawled into a window.
When the door was unlocked.
When the door was unlocked. God.
Oh my God, you should have seen June. Oh my God, she's like, I can't do this. I'm like, June, you're missing out.
Can't get out. And then after all that talking me into it, and we crawl over the window into the window, then all of a sudden this family walks in and just opens the door and walks through. Like, what the hell?
Really?
That was pretty.
And seriously, it took a lot of talking her into it. June, you won't die. It's okay. It's okay, June. You can make this. It's easy.
It's easy.
Just hop over this little wall, slide into this little hole, and then jimmy over this rooftop. You'll be good to go.
Really? I set up the repelling equipment myself.
Uh-huh.
Good times.
And then you bungee jump right into the building. You're good.
Yeah, what the hell?
It was amazing once we got in, so I was happy, even if the door was open.
Yeah.
Made it all worth more wild, right?
Yeah, it did. It was awesome. Just like everything else, he talks me into doing, because I'm like, I don't want to, I'm scared. And then, never scared of paranormal stuff, just scared of,
every day, doing, living, life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, this is great. Thank you.
Well, I told her, you only live once. Might as well live every day to its fullest.
Exactly.
This is true. Very true.
I just try to go through my life with not any missed opportunities. If you have an opportunity to do something,
do it.
Yeah.
Do it. Yeah, do it.
You know how many times I hear that all the time? June, it's going to be a missed opportunity. It's like some missed opportunities I don't care if I miss. There are some things I have no desire.
Your point? Yeah. Just like we are not going skydiving.
Yeah, exactly.
No, my God, I want to go skydiving. I want to go bungee jumping. I want to do that. I just haven't had the opportunity presented to me yet. I mean, I do want to do it.
The biggest thing I always tell people is, if this opportunity comes to you, just stop and think for, less than a minute. Will I regret not doing this in my life? Mm-hmm. If you have any bit of regret that if you don't do it, then, obviously it's going to be a missed opportunity for you.
So do it.
Do it. I've kicked myself many times because I could have been traveling around the world a lot more than I had been. Mm-hmm. And I missed these opportunities because I didn't want to go by myself. And I would try to set up trips, with friends and family. And, of course, they would bail out at the last minute. And so I don't get to do the trip.
Right.
And so I was just like, one year I had enough. I said, what? I'm tired of trying to plan these trips. People don't, follow through with, joining me on these trips. I'm just going to do a trip. I'm going to plan the trip. I'm just going to go. If people can join me, that's awesome. If not,
you met a shitload you met a shitload of more interesting people, didn't you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, that's been my goal now. It's just like, I'm just going to go. If I have the opportunity, I'm going to go. Mm-hmm. Because I can't, sit around and wait for people. Because then you go into life as you get older, you just resent, the fact and, you regret not having these opportunities in your life.
Like being in my 20s and 30s and making quite a bit of money, going to Savannah, Georgia, staying out on Tybee Island,
I love Tybee.
Going, river rafting the Snake River between Oregon and Idaho, I believe it was. Just doing all that stuff. Shooting these rapids and these little bitty rafts and woohoo! I would have really missed out on life if I hadn't done it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, I'm very proud of June because she really has stepped up and has taken advantage of a lot of these opportunities. Even though I know how scared she was in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Especially about flying.
Yes. And unfortunately, a lot of these places you can't get to without flying.
Yeah, I was going to say, kind of hard not to experience those things without flying. You kind of got to.
Yep.
But of course, she's going to get on a plane and it's going to go down. And as it's going down, she's going to I hate you, Ross. I hate you, Ross. You did this to me.
Or she starts singing Peggy Sue,
or Johnny Boy,
Oh, goodness. Alrighty then, guys. What you want to pimp Spooked in Seattle a little bit or anything?
Yeah, definitely. If anybody wants to, or I should say if anybody is visiting or in the Seattle area, definitely check out Spooked in Seattle. We were recently voted as one of the top 15 ghost tours in America. Huge honor.
That is amazing. Congratulations,
yes.
to you.
Number 6, not just top 15. We are number 6.
Yeah.
Shut up, June.
Very, very proud of that.
So it's pretty awesome. We also have the first death museum in the Northwest, which actually, carries a lot of our haunted objects. So you can definitely see a lot of the famous haunted toys from Mr. Creepy. And also, if you watched Freaky Sweets that aired this last fall, Junior, that was featured on the cake, is there as well. And then, of course, and you can find Spooked in Seattle at spookedinseattle.com. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, if you want to find out what we're up to, you can check us out at AGHOST, at aghost.org, or even our Facebook page. June's really awesome at keeping that up to date with everything that we're doing, adventures we're having. And then, again, just follow me on Facebook or follow June on Facebook. And you can see a lot of our live video feeds that we do from some of these amazing places that we get to visit. So lots of opportunities for anyone to keep in touch with us.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yes.
Yeah, I've gone on the walkthroughs when June was doing Facebook live and everything. It looks fantastic.
Well, definitely one of the things that we're really trying to push is the 360 opportunities. So now you can see all the way around. You can scroll even on Facebook. You can scroll around and see everything, the areas that we're investigating, and we'll be doing a lot more live investigations that way as well.
Very cool. I'm glad I have my newer computer because my old one would just start kind of stuttering and threatening to throw me into an epileptic fit or something. But this computer keeps up with it really well, so it's great.
Yay!
Yay! Alrighty, guys. Well, June, how would someone get a hold of you if they were looking?
Oh, same places.
Haunted brothels and bordellos. That's where you find you. You find her lurking in the shadows of haunted brothels.
Or if you ever have any questions, you can email me at ghostjunevp@gmail.com. That's AGHOST, June, June, VP, as in Victor Parrot. At gmail.com.
Got it.
So
I'm putting it into the event and on the little comment area on the show thing. Yeah. Well, Ross, thank you so much. June, thank you. Pleasure as always.
Always.
Anytime, you guys. It's always
Thank you
fun.
guys so much. It is. It is fun.
Yes.
Next week, Bill Bean.
Yep.
Demons, exorcism, and whatever the hell else he's written about in his new book.
Oh, please don't say Pizzagate.
Well, no, maybe the cannibals.
Well, the cannibals, right. I couldn't remember that woman's name, though, so I wasn't going there.
Yeah, no, I don't. Aaron Spellman? Sorry. Sorry.
No. She's not in chat tonight. I'm worried.
Imagine that. I know. Bill's not on. But he will be next week, and I guarantee you she'll be there then. Bill Bean next week. The following week, still working on the following week, the 22nd, Nick Redfern, and talking about Slender Man and that entire tragedy, how it actually has evolved.
Right.
It's going to be a very interesting interview.
Now, did you get that book? Or no?
Not yet. It is actually being mailed today, as a matter of fact.
Okay.
To both of us. Yes.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
Well, yeah. You and me too. It was being mailed today from the publicist. That was the last message that I got.
Okay, cool. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that will be the 22nd.
Okay, very good.
Yeah. And a major announcement coming within the next 2 weeks from Mystic Moon Cafe, Mystic Moon Mafia.
Absolutely, yep.
Yep. So keep listening, all three of you. Stay tuned. Keep listening.
Stick with us, everybody.
Everybody. Same bat time, same bat channel. Yeah.
Yeah, that was just, I remember.
Yeah, no,
yeah. I saw
you do. You do. Nobody else does. I get it. I know. I do. You do. Nobody else does. I get it.
Well, anyway,
it's actually very funny. I'm actually dealing with an individual who is the head of an ad agency out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, who looks like Adam West from the 80s.
Okay.
Really big hair, really big glasses. Sounds like Adam West. He and I have this very interesting confrontation going on. It's very funny. Yeah.
We'll take your word for it.
Well, because I see him as Adam West, and I'm going, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I just don't have any good response for that. I apologize.
There isn't a good response to that. It really is.
It went.
Okay. What's taking us out tonight, Windy Lady?
Oh, how about Devil Devil by Milk?
Yeah, why the hell not?
Yeah, why not?
Why not?
All right. Thanks, you, everybody. Everyone in chat, everybody.
Next
June,
week,
Ross,
there'll be
listeners.
Yes. Oh, yes. Thank you, Ross. Thank you, June. Thank you, our listeners. And next week, Bill Bean.
Yep. Good night, everybody.
And his new book. Oh,
Somebody hung
they
up.
just hung. They hung up on us.
Oh, man. Now we've got echo. All right, then.
Oh.
Devil Devil by Milk.
Devil, devil, clever devil, devil. How quickly they do sell their souls for the feast and the promise of gold. But devil, that won't be me. Devil, devil, bones of metal, metal. You chose your sight with a single glance. Make them think they ever stood a chance. Do not try me, devil, devil. Cannot buy me, devil, devil. You won't make a fool of me. Oh no. What makes you so special, special? To think I would ever settle for that devious dance between you and me, devil, devil. Rebel, rebel. Call me a rebel, rebel. I walk the plank, not a tear in my eye. I won't go down your blushing pride. Under the water, I'll be sharpening my knife. Do not try me, devil, devil. Cannot buy me, devil, devil. You won't make a fool of me. Oh no. What makes you so special, special? To think I would ever settle for that devious dance between you and me, devil, devil. Devil, devil. You take the shape of everything I'm drawn to. You take the shape of everything I'm drawn to. But your eyes are dead and red, red as rose. Do not try me, devil, devil. Cannot buy me, devil, devil. You won't
Thank you for joining us tonight. You've been listening to Mystic Moon Cafe. Join us every Wednesday from 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern. Be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. On behalf of Wendy Schindler, this is Travis Short saying have a great rest of your week.
That's all, folks.